Well, Dean, thank you so much for joining our new podcast, Coffee and AI. We have Dean Moussalli. Did I pronounce it right?
Correct,
All
Vassil.
right, perfect. Thank you. Happy Friday. It's July 25th. This is our first podcast that we're going to kind of kick in. And we want to talk about coffee and AI and everything in between. So I got my, this is actually my third double espresso of the morning, thanks to my marketing team that we kicked in early. And I
Enjoy it.
just, I do, and hopefully we'll send you some coffee as well afterwards because we failed to do that on the first one. But
There's no
this is
failure.
this is one of my favorite, the Kimball one. I have about I think three different espresso machines at home, and then one in my van,
Wow.
and I'm kind of obsessed with drinking and trying different coffees from around the world. And I just bought some for a friend of mine. I'm gonna take to Europe.
Look at
It's
you're very well prepared for
I'm
this.
I'm always prepared. I'm always like you gotta have coffee, but
I'm very honored and I'm very privileged, and I cannot thank you and the team more to be here. And it's a privilege to be one of your first guests, and hopefully this will be um, a story that can begin today and have more and many, many, many guests to come and many good conversations to come on this
thank you.
podcast. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for choosing me. And I am so impressed with your coffee kind of connoisseur. So it's kind of fun. I love espresso too. I'm not a fan of the American coffee.
I can't drink that stuff. I
Me
apologize.
neither.
I'm
I think
just
because I like the concentration to be
yes.
strong. I used to have an espresso machine. By the way, this podcast, I don't think they sponsored us, but hey,
No, 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 no. Don't just. We
I
maybe we should think about them
we should think,
sponsoring it
yeah.
maybe, but.
The Nespresso, I used to have an espresso machine, which I loved, but then the kind of, I wanted more to have a real espresso machine, that
Yeah.
kind of a real barista with real coffee and do my own grind. So I have that now, and I can't tell you how happy I am with it. I still have a French press and the coffee, how do you say it? The espresso machine, the stove one from Italy. I'm
Yes.
Bartelli. I forgot
Yeah,
how.
yeah, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I use all of these, but normally this beautiful barista machine is my favorite.
Yeah.
And I've had already six double espresso because I'm an early morning riser. So when you told me bring in your coffee, I said, "You do not want me to have coffee.
Yeah, no more, no more. Yeah,
No more."
this is my third double espresso, and I think I'm reaching my limit. I'm gonna start jumping a little bit here too much. So, but yeah, Dean, thank you again. So you and I obviously chatted before this podcast, and the reason I think we want to kind of try this new thing is to talk about the things that people are not talking about in the end of the day. We've been both in a technology space for a while, and the things that we both have seen and many others have seen, I think, is that everybody's like jumping on, yeah, AI is great. It's amazing. It can save you a lot of time. You can automate things and have more time for being strategic and artistic. And I just came back from two big industry conferences with both Gartner and Forrester. And the one thing that I noticed is there wasn't that many use cases that were really good. And people were kind of, first of all, talking about that. But more importantly, the things that I am starting to worry more and more is okay, you're going to do that AI stuff, and everybody has access to different AI tools. But when it comes to privacy, security, regulations, compliance, identity, very few people are talking about it. And this makes me very nervous. And I come from working on big banks on Wall Street, and I've worked with very big companies before. I'm a former Gartner analyst myself, And when we don't talk about this, that's usually a problem. And so I don't know what you guys are seeing in your space, and I know you had a consulting background, but what comes to mind? I mean, when everybody's jumping, I'm like, yeah, we got to do AI, and Gen AI is great, and I'm at the same time starting to worry more and more about, are you guys seeing the bigger picture? Are you thinking about it? And how is your organization prepared for any of that? So,
This is a very good topic, and I'm kind of intrigued. You started with the perhaps one of the hardcore challenges that everyone is facing, or at least one of the big ones. I know when I used to be at Deloitte, um, we were not allowed to use any normal AI. We created and we had to have our own AI,
yep,
which is Deloitte built,
yep.
that is private and secure, where any kind of information that needed to be shared with that agent or with that, uh,
Oops.
I'm talking whether it's predictive AI or Gen AI, right? Um, it
Uh,
only stays within the privacy walls and the security of that company because to protect our clients' data or and we were not allowed to even use actually if I had I remember when I had a Deloitte laptop you could not use ChatGPT. It actually blocked, right?
yeah,
For purpose,
yeah.
we had our own ChatGPT version. I think it was also Copilot, if I'm not mistaken. So forgive me if I'm mixing them up now. I don't remember. It's been almost 1 year and a half, so I don't remember which software was it. Um, but that's only companies like Deloitte are able to implement that. Not
Yep.
every single company. Right now,
Yeah.
if I'm being very honest, I am the director of marketing at Via Trading, and we don't have the capacity or the tools to create our own AI with our own security measures, with our own fire. That is on my map, but it's not my priority,
Yep.
right? So you will see that sometimes we are as a team taking some chances of what kind of information we're uploading. The good
Sure.
thing is we're not usually uploading any information about our customers. What we are doing is making our life easier in terms of marketing operations, in terms of marketing, creating content, in terms of reporting and analytics, these kind of stuff because I'm afraid of putting customers' data, even though I am not in banking, we're in a liquidation services, which means the maximum I have about my customers is what kind of products they bought, meaning
Yep.
they bought a case of L'Oreal versus a case of Revlon versus a case of tennis shoes or versus a case, right? But still, for me, it's still important to protect that. So when I gave the team the go ahead of how to use and train them on how to leverage the AI tools, I did say we cannot share names, we cannot share phone numbers, we cannot share their email, we cannot share a lot of their private information or even behavioral information transactional information at this point, because we don't know how this will be used. I kind of limit it to more insights and reporting and creative and content, but it is a very important topic to discuss. And I think we all, as marketers, are still trying to figure out how to navigate this and how to prioritize it. And industry to industry change. If you're in banking, that would be your number. You cannot start using AI without fixing this first. I would say healthcare is the same. What if someone else in health insurance got access to these kind of files or DNA test or any kind of test, right? There is a lot of fear that certain industries need to be way more, um, they need to start with that first. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean retail shouldn't, but different different industries necessitate different
But
dynamics.
you're absolutely right. Different industries probably need to be, looking at this differently, and I get that. The risk is different depending if you have a bank account or something else. But also, even in different regions, the we're seeing difference. Europe is really pushing the AI regulations. North America, you can see ads even on MSNBC calling for, oh, we are, we need America, we need to do innovation, and Washington needs to let the AI kind of not be regulated. And unfortunately, we've seen the bad things happening with deepfakes. And, we cannot ignore that unfortunately there are bad actors out there. And if somebody can get access to uh, my information and then uses my image and my voice, call my dad who's in his 80s and impersonate me, this could be,
Or your voice,
very
even who knows?
dangerous. And
Yeah.
where's that information coming from? If did it come from some vendor? And unfortunately, in the last year or two, I've got so many letters in the mail from healthcare and other app companies that my data was leaked. And so now, with the power of AI on top of it, how is that going to get used or misused? And
Absolutely.
I think we have responsibility as technology leaders and technology vendors to make sure that we anticipate the worst, test different things, but at the same time think about the consequences because this is so new and it's so untested that unless we do it, who else is going to do it? And
100%.
yeah,
You know what I think we're going through, and it's not only now with AI. If we look at the last 10, 15 years historically, we as in the United States here, we've been innovators. We've been creating the Googles, we've been creating the Facebooks and the
yep,
Instagrams, and we've been creating the, right? All of these kind of, and so many millions of apps, whether we've been innovators and data privacy policy and security hasn't been our top priority. Our top priority has been collectively as a society is innovation.
yeah,
And you could see that because we're always 1 to 2 years behind Europe, right? Whether in cookie policy, they started it. Whether if we're talking about ads policy, they started it. Instagram, etc. They right anything that has to do with regulations, we're 2 to 3 years sometimes behind Europe.
yeah,
I think because the collective of tech industries here in United States, and it has a ripple effect on us too, right? Because we're part of that world, whether we're in it or around it, is that we're focused on innovation. And
yeah.
then it's an afterthought to think of security and privacy. And I think we are now at a really pivot point where with the AI, any information you put out there, we don't know how people can extract that. How can people extract that? Does it feed the engine? Does it feed other people? We still have a little bit of obscurity. I mean, you could do some research and tells you, sometimes you can ask AI itself, how do you use my data and how other people uses it and tells you I'm learning and it's
Yeah.
machine learning. But we don't know more than that. It's a kind of a black hole a little bit. So you're right. I think it's time for us as a collective US leaders here in the United States working in the tech industry or working in any kind of marketing industry as well to think of innovation plus security and privacy at the same time and start really getting on that train a little bit faster so we can innovate and also pivot at the same time to be more secure and for privacy as well. So I think it's going to be a collective effort. So far, we've led only one part of the train, and we let the Europeans lead the train of security and privacy and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. I definitely would love for us to do things differently, and it starts with each one of us, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. And
Of
I
course,
think,
there's policy. Of course, there should be
yes, yes.
governmental
Yeah.
policies. Of course, there should be regulatory rules and guidelines that needs to be set. But I think there's also common sense that comes from all of us. There's a responsibility. I knew that my country right now, or the AI world, is not regulated in the States, right? Perhaps not even anywhere else yet. It's being created out there. Now, the way I led with my team, I said, we cannot share their names, we cannot share their emails, we cannot share their phone numbers, we cannot share any private information about them. All we could say, white label the list and say that's what they bought, create a segment out of it, right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
for me, creating the segment, and then I could map later in an offline exercise, right, those segments in a different way. And that was a personal decision I took because I did not want to be in trouble. Right? I did not want to be in trouble. I did not want to cause myself or my business any trouble. I did not want to go into any kind of lawsuit. So I had to do an internal work that is not perhaps yet supported by any government policy or rules in the tech world. And I think we all owe it to ourselves, that's first, but also we need to push regulatory policies and have people in the government that understand AI more and understand tech world more rather than just, they're not up to date into that world. And that's a different topic we need to talk about
Yeah,
another.
it's a different topic, but it's an important issue
Yeah.
because I mean, even before AI really became the AI of what it is today, people were freaking out when you get a little bit too much personalization, even in ads that you see on your mobile app or Facebook or whatever. How do they know that I'm looking at, buying a new car? Are they listening or anything else? And now it's even creepier. So personalization could be done the right way. Personalization could also be a little bit too much for some people. And with AI, the ability to analyze billions of data points, whether it's coming from a CDP or something else, and whatever internal databases you have, it is pretty scary. And so it needs to be done in an appropriate way. And otherwise, I think brands are going to really suffer. But at the same time, there is another issue here, as like you said earlier. Bigger companies or financial companies, consulting companies are a lot more careful. And I do think that they should be, because if you go and you start asking, ChatGPT and OpenAI certain questions about your competition, there is some very interesting information that they know and they're pulling out in terms of their strategy, in terms of their go-to-market, in terms of their revenue numbers and sales numbers and predictions. And I'm like, where are you getting this information? This is not a public information. How do they know? And I'm starting to think about what I'm sharing with ChatGPT and other AI platforms when I do my conversations and discussions with AI myself. Are you sharing this with somebody else? Do I need to tell you specifically not to share this with anybody else? Is that like not a given that this is a very private conversation here? And there's some interesting stories about how people, if they know the handle that you're using, could potentially engage with that handle across the network. So there is still so much unknown, and the fact that researchers are now pointing out that AI is creating its own language,
I've read this
mathematical
one. I thought it was
language to
amazing.
talk to
Yeah.
each other and to
Hmm.
analyze things. And this scares me, because if we don't know how they're communicating, what data is being shared, and you're never going to find out anymore, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
I mean,
really
we're
nervous.
living, if we get there, we will be living some sci-fi movie that we are not in control, and it feels almost we're there.
Yeah, it will be how open the door, how, and it will be, I cannot
Yeah.
do that,
Very
Dave.
soon my ring will not, very soon my ring, if I connect it to some sort of an AI model, maybe will not let me into my house. Who
I
knows?
You don't look like yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is scary. But I mean, and this is why we need to test things and we need to be cautious about it. I remember at my previous company we had when we launched our Gen AI stuff in New York, we invited a very big analyst from Forrester. And afterwards, I had a chat with him, and he's like, the stuff you guys are doing, this is scary to me. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, you didn't like it? I'm like, yeah, no, I think the risks are too big. And he has a point because again, this is like 2 years ago, and it was also he works with a lot of financial institutions throughout the world and big regulated industries. And he's like, this is like, you guys haven't really thought about everything. Yes, you can create the content. Yes, it looks cool. Yes, you can do this, but then have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And I'm like, well, we're thinking about it. We haven't launched it. This is just an announcement. It's pre-launch. But yeah, we need to really be, I think, more with all the advances, especially that not everybody really understands what AI really can do, what agentic agents can do. You're just going to go in and say, hey, create me an agent to do this XYZ just with a prompt. But what is happening behind it? What is in the code? What access do you have with the data and how the data is being controlled? Because we don't know this anymore, the way you could with proper software development or the old way of software development. This is
But don't
it
forget the challenges
more
that the
questions.
marketers are, yeah, but the challenges that the marketers are facing are massive nowadays, right? There are some opportunities and challenges at the same time. We have now as a marketer, each marketing organization have minimum 10 to 20. I read this research where 10 to 20 minimum of software solutions that they need to kind of manage with their team, right? Between analytics and campaign operations and design and content and writing and project management and CDP and CRM. And so we're the more than ever, marketing is complicated. We're doing the same thing, which is we're trying to advertise, get people to do something, engage
Yeah,
them, and keep them and retain them. In the umbrella story of marketing didn't change. The tools changed, but now I'm old enough to know how marketing was in the 90s and the 2000s when I started an advertising agency where I did not have any of these tools. I did not have any
nope,
of this. I'm still doing the same work, but the tools are different. I have multitude of channels, multitude of operation softwares or creative softwares or analytical softwares, and each one give me phenomenal sets of data or phenomenal benefit. But that management of 10 to 20 software keeps the marketer and their team really in more in operations, right? So that's why when the agentic AI or any kind of AI is coming now to help with taking off some of the load of operation or taking some of the load and them being more strategic, you could see them jumping on it, using it. Even though the research says that up to 40% only are experimenting with AI. So not every
yep,
single marketing department has been able to leverage it completely, which is correct. Experimenting first and learning how to use it is actually the correct way. And anyway, at the end of the day, AI, Gen AI, it's only been in the market kind of 2 years in a way accessible to everyone.
yep,
Agentic AI, the last 2, 3 months maybe max. So not even maybe. So you see those challenges impact why people have between do I run my team and their operation and these softwares and integrate them and be in charge of the data and understand the data of what's going on and try something new? Yet, yes. And then one of those big dilemmas or 5, 6 dilemmas that or balls that everyone is juggling, there is the ball of privacy and security that sometimes people are putting on the side like I cannot juggle 7 balls. I can juggle 4 or 5 or 3 or 4, right? So that's really, I think, what's happening in our world right now as a marketers. But you're right, we have to figure out the priorities and be able to say this ball of privacy and security is maybe more important than X ball or this, and be able to prioritize it part of our and navigate this challenge together. And I think it's going to be a collective effort.
Now, because you mentioned it, again, we're a little bit older, more mature, more experienced because we've seen what was happening in the 90s and before. Marketing was not in control of the systems. And only about a decade ago or so is where the IT department, which used to control your all your marketing, CRM, and everything else, was moved and given in the hands of the CMO team.
100%.
And now the new marketing stack, which can involve, 10, 20 or more different services that are in the cloud, are controlled by the marketing team. But I think that now more than ever, we will see a shift backwards where IT needs to come in, where the CISO needs to come in and control this, because without that, I don't think that even the marketing team have a full understanding of the impact this can have on the company. And this is much bigger when you then have this external system that you need to connect, pull data, or both ways sometimes. What data are you sharing? What data are you updating in your internal records? And the marketing team is as complex and as sophisticated or innovative they don't understand all the other infrastructure. And many of the systems on top of it, how do you, I don't know how many times are we talking about enterprise AI platforms. Are you able to run the system 24/7 on redundant systems? What happens if this stops working and your entire personalization, CX, customer support, whatever else is on a system that goes down because the vendor that you are using goes down? And these are things that marketers are starting to recognize, to understand, and to like, oh crap, well, that's not my problem, I'm going to give it to IT. And IT is like, whoa, wait a minute, we were not part of this when you guys decided to evaluate this vendor. The bigger companies are doing proper RFIs and RFPs and testing and everything else, but this is going to affect a lot of companies, and they have to be much more careful. And it's not just understanding what AI is or what agentic is and how it can automate things and do things on its own. It's like, what else can it do?
Valid point. During my years in consultancy at Accenture or at Deloitte, obviously, when you are talking about those massive, big, important consultancy firms, a lot of our clients were as big as us, if not sometimes bigger, right?
Yep.
And I'm talking about the Disneys of the world and the Googles of the world and the eBays and the Apples and all of those kind of companies that were hiring these big consulting firms. You could see from my own experience, and I'm not going to mention all the clients that I worked on or the organization, they are able to bring on the table of conversation whenever we implemented any CDP, any any massive MarTech assessment or implementation. They had their marketing team, but they had their digital team. They had, or sometimes they call it, they have some of them have a chief digital officer, some of
Yep.
them have chief marketing officer, some of them they call them chief customer officer, and within the customer they have a MarTech lead or director of MarTech. So you could see this trend of marketing is now, yes, it's almost embracing all the digital MarTech developers, coders, tech, IT part of it under its umbrella to make sure that it's no longer siloed and that there is a communication and there is synergy between the team of whether we want to call it IT and digital or tech and marketing together.
Yeah.
That is definitely happening on large, big enterprise companies. And I think it's maybe happening in a different scale in its smaller companies. I know we right now I'm at Via Trading. We're not a massive company. We're employees of 100. I don't do anything without my tech lead. He is part of my meetings every single day. Um, I am dangerous enough in technology and data, right, from my history, but I'm not a coder, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
am not a coder. I'm not a developer, nor I want to be. So I understand how technology work and how they need to be integrated and how need to be working together. But at the end of the day, I need a tech lead who is going to be the sound of reason with me at the conference room, in the conference room on in any meeting, to be able to navigate what I'm trying to create in terms of functionality. Does that make sense in the back end? Does that make sense in the front end? Does that make sense in terms of data mapping and validation? Does that make sense
Yep.
in terms of privacy and security? We as marketers have to bring in those teams with us. They are not service providers, they are not afterthoughts. Sometimes they are decision, not sometimes, most of the times, they're decision makers as strategic as we are in terms of customer, because they can enable whatever strategy we have, whatever tactic we want to use or update or whatever that may be on the front end, back end, and including security and reading.
But in to that extent, whether you're a big company or small company, there are certain security compliance levels the company go by. You know, ISO, whatever, GDPR, and everything else. When it comes to AI, what are even the internal corporate guidance, and how many of those companies really have built corporate guidance? Do they have a chief AI officer that is responsible of this,
I think
and
you're
that can be the leader to say this is what we're doing, this is who has approved it, who, what tools we're going to use, what tools we're not going to use. And this goes back to, the whole digital, well, it's not digital, but it's a AI transformation that every
yes,
company is going to have to go through, and it needs to start with the minimum of training and educating your teams, whether they're developers, whether they're marketers, whether they're support people, finance people, or security people, and IT people, of what is AI, what is agentic, what is LOM, and how is all this data moving around out there, and then how are you planning to do it? And before you can do this, going and starting to use all those cool tools, which are cool as heck. I love it. I can sit on a computer for hours and talk to the AI because I'm having, very meaningful conversation on a very high level, for my IQ, at least, I'm hoping. But at the same time, what are we doing? And we really need to kind of, I think every company, it's going to be in their best interest, whether you're a vendor, whether you're a brand, whether you're whoever you are, government agency, to have those things in place. And you said earlier something very interesting as well. The government is needs to do their job. How many of these people really have a clue of what even AI is,
I don't think so.
let alone agentic data privacy or anything else?
I
And
don't
if
think
these
so.
people are doing the regulations, just imagine the mess we're gonna get ourselves
Yeah,
into.
I
And
don't
this is
think
all
so.
around the world. This is not
Yeah,
just
yeah, of course.
North America, Europe as
And
well.
let's be honest. I don't think so. I think right now, the tech world is the only world that knows the ins and outs of AI, and I don't think it has been. Don't forget, predictive AI existed for at least 7, 8, 9 minimum. I think maybe I'm wrong
Yep,
too.
yep,
So at least 8, 9. Let's say 10, just to be on the safe side. But I mean, I was working with predictive AI back on some of my clients in Accenture, and that was in 2016 and 17. So
Yep.
at least
Yep.
over 10 years. Um, it existed. I think people know what it does. I think people understand and they jumped on it, and 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 it's not Gen AI is in the last 2 years, people use it for content creation or strategic or even research. I think agentic AI is so new to people and they're still trying to understand. I mean, if we look at most softwares, I'm not gonna name any software right now because I don't want to put any myself or you or anything. But a lot of them have. They tell you this is a Gentech beta version, beta, right? It's still so new, right? Surprisingly enough, I am not exaggerating, and I am not. Um, Today is the day where ChatGPT told me you are allowed to use Agentic AI on my paid plan
Okay.
because I was not allowed to have the agentic. I don't know why. I
Oh,
did
okay.
ask
Okay.
I did ask ChatGPT why am I not allowed to use agentic AI. He gave me a million reasons. I said, but I am a pro and I am paying and whatever. And then today, out of surprisingly today, I was like, you're allowed now to use agentic AI. Why? I don't know. I'm gonna keep asking and learning. But other CRM softwares, other content creation softwares, from Canva to HubSpot to Attentive to Netcore, you guys are all creating now agentic AI.
Yeah. Yep.
Some of them are all in the beta version. So there is so much to learn. There is so much to learn on the tech side, which are the companies that are creating that, and there's so much to learn on the receiving end, which is us marketers using these tools also. I think it's moving faster than we all anticipated. We knew kind of how fast it will be, but it's still faster than we all
Yep.
anticipated.
Yep. Yep.
And I think it's taking us by a storm. And I think that's why we're missing some of those facing some of those challenges, like we mentioned, whether it is the security or the privacy,
Yep.
or even how to utilize it fast and furious and at scale. But I do believe that marketers and tech people who want to make a difference to their organization, want to make a difference to their customers, want to make difference to their team so they can become not an analyst but more of a storyteller, not a tactical duel but more of a strategic thinker, will try to use agentic AI to leverage its power and really make a difference for their organization, for customers, for sales. And I think you're right. It starts with the training. It starts with with education. We have to tell people that what predictive AI is. It's forecasting data, right? And it's execution. And when we talk about generative AI, it's about creating or strategizing and deployment or submission of that creation. Agentic AI is literally everything. It's planning, it's creating, it's strategizing, it's forecasting, it's what am I missing? It's forecasting, it's doing, implementing without me.
Yep. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
he needs,
Yeah.
it's autonomous. All he needs is insane good prompt and insane data to actually do it. Without data, he's gonna give me
But
crap.
then one thing I've noticed here, and I don't know what you've seen. You know, you're on a brand side, I'm on a vendor side. But one thing I've seen is that there are also quite a few solutions out there that mark themselves as agentic. However, they're not really agentic. They're AI. They have a prompt, but just having a prompt doesn't mean you're agentic. You need
That's
to essentially have, like you said, something that can do things on its own when there is let's say a trigger for it, new data point comes in, something happens, and then if you even ask the experts in AI, they even themselves look at agentic in its own different way, and there's different categories of agentic. And just like, we're not at the next level of complete autonomous AI that can really do everything, and
it
there is a
starts with the prompt.
difference. It starts with a prompt.
It
Yes,
starts with a prompt, it starts with data. You need to tell that agentic system, it's a software. Let's call it a software. So I
it's a
think
software. Yeah.
and people and listeners, whoever is listening to us, maybe kind of understand. It's a software,
Yep.
but it needs to be fed something first, right?
And it
It's
depends on the
modeling
data
itself.
points that you
Yeah,
have. It depends on
yeah.
good data. Good data, you get good results. Bad data, you get bad results.
And
Uh,
prompt. It's really
yeah,
prompt
prompt.
is
Yep,
about
yep,
we need to give him the data. Let's just say we're talking about a specific segment or a specific segment in e-commerce or whatever, and we need to say this is the segment or this is my whole list. Create for me an email drip campaign, launch it based on their behavior, based on the
yep.
segment, based on their transaction, based on whatever, and A/B test subject lines. If not, you have to still tell it what to do
Yeah,
and
yes,
it will run
yes.
with it. But it's as good as what we tell it to do.
Well, so, but it also depends how it has been designed.
Yes.
Because there is, for example, you can have an agent running and optimizing, let's say, user journey. But you can also have a decisioning agentic service that creates a user journey based on learning and not based on a preset path.
Correct,
Like
correct.
a lot of the marketing out there is based on some preset path. It needs to happen, and you can A/B test whether you want to do one channel versus another, do one messaging versus another, do one discount versus another offer, and then based on this, go and do something else. And if that happens, go back or whatever. But with a true agentic decisioning engine in between, it's smart enough to know what works in general and understand where you are in the user journey, what you're trying to do, and then does test things in real time, and it gives you a next step.
True.
And but the other part is when you have the agents. This is where my agent is going to be able to talk to your agent and negotiate, get only the information that you need, and there is no journey anymore. It's like, give me the price, do you have availability, give me the colors, do you have it East Coast, West Coast, and what kind of discount you're going to give me, and then the shopping agent is going to come and say, hey, this is the best coffee that I can find that is available, best price, best reviews. It is based on, you like the light or the medium or the dark thing, go and buy it. It's available.
It's very true. I mean, it is autonomous, right? And it is smart enough to collect data from around, whether and to collect data from around or from our input and our
Yep.
upload, right? Um, I feel in the beginning there's a necessity for a human audit or a human follow-up or a human shadow, call it whatever you want.
Yep.
Because not because I don't trust the machine. It's not about lack of trust. It's about ensuring that it is operating within the parameters that works for us and our customers. Meaning, what if this agentic AI believe that open rates less than 35% is bad, and then accordingly he's gonna change the entire content and then change the entire subject line or
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then maybe for me in my industry, 35% open rate in email is actually correct and it's actually
Yep.
safe and it's actually amazing, right? So instead of it going to do its own re-optimization and redeploying different emails or different subject lines or whatever content they might, whatever prompt we give it or do or on its own, I think shadowing it in the beginning is very important to make sure that they are working with the parameters that fits our industry, that fits our goals exactly, that fits our um, maybe in retail you example and if you're a Nike store and we are using agentic AI as a landing page or an email campaign, an email drip, you could still send someone to buy shoes 17 times every 2 days and people will not will not mind because they're looking at maybe shoes, right? And they will be entertained, right? Let's just say it's not the case, but I'm just going a little bit extreme.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you're a banking industry and if you send me 17 emails a day, I will think something is wrong. So, right? Why do I need to read 1 million things about your credit card, right? And
Yeah.
imagine if AI goes and create an email campaign and a landing page that target me based on my behavior and then goes into creating different email drip. So I think there are parameters that needs to be fed first
Yep.
to that industry, to that
Yep.
segment, to that client, to that, and we need to kind of treat it as a human, even though it's a superhuman. We need to treat it as a human, really make it understand what is our industry, what is the common norms, and let it take that feedback, take that data, take those collective of data, compare it to other industries or competitors and bring me back some sort of a best practice, perhaps that's okay. But I think it needs us in the beginning to shadow it a little bit.
It's not just that, but I think you hit the nail on the head there. You need the historic data and the human, because I also see a lot of brand new vendors in the space that are agentic first, AI first, and they're like, oh, we do this better than everybody else. We don't have any old kind of uh, constraints in any way, shape, and form, and we're doing this from scratch. Well, if you're doing this from scratch, do you understand the behavior of that user? Do you have even the history of the interaction with that user to understand, like you said, are they on one channel versus another? What time of the day? What have they bought before? Or are you just gonna start sending me something based on what the AI think is a good product or a good match for me without truly understand the user? And without that data, any of those platforms, as smart of their AI is, if they don't have this data training in the beginning,
Yes,
are not going to engage with me in the right way. It may have some interesting things with younger generation or new users, and kind of make some assumptions about you based on your age, location, the type of device you're using, but it's gonna be that and that other data that all these companies have in their CDPs, in their CRMs, is gonna be crucial. And then you need to have the human touch to make sure, does that really make sense?
I agree.
And you're absolutely right. And we need to do it beyond just the compliance, just to make sure that it is not doing something stupid and things that, oh, let me optimize the price a little bit more and give you a bigger discount. But is that agent that you have created, is this agentic system talking to your finance department? Is it talking to your procurement? Is it talking to the different stores and checks availability in every one of the places? And is it taking into effect new tariffs that are coming? And is it going to give a discount based on the best behavior or based on what is the bottom line of the company? And this is what scares me, is that, yeah, we have all this marketing agents, but where is the finance agent? Where is the support agent? And the CX in here really kind of talking to everybody else to make the right business decision for the brand as well as for the customer, and keep them happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't agree more. And I think there is an evolution to, we're seeing it, we're witnessing it, we're lucky to witness it, is that at first people did not believe predictive AI. They had
Yep.
to make sure that every single product recommendation or every single, it's making sure, but they learned that whatever you feed the predictive AI, it's a machine learning, it becomes smarter, better, more accurate. And we as marketers have, and tech people as well, we've learned that, okay, it's an engine, it's a smart engine. You need to feed it the right information with the right data for the system to recommend, right? The best a recommendation or product recommendation based on behavior, based on browsing, and you set the parameters correct. Later on, we learned how to use Gen AI. I used to also tell my team, don't just ask the question with no context, with no explanation of the situation, of telling where via trading is, or what is our customer needs, or what is the brand value. The more you prompt that machine to learn about, first and foremost, your brand, your strategy, your reasons to believe, your core values, your insights of the customer, their challenge. I always used to say to them, and I still do, treat it like an agency or a human who you're briefing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Brief it, even if it's the task is so small, brief it as if it's an agency. Brief it as if you're creating a brief, right?
But
As
you're saying this because you have that consulting background and
but
agency
I also used to
background.
be an account director in ad agencies, so I know garbage
Yes,
in, garbage
exactly,
out.
exactly.
So
It's a
I
different
understand.
perspective. Yeah, it's a
Yes,
different
yes.
perspective.
And but that's
Absolutely.
really it makes a big difference. And I noticed when my team started doing that, of course I was doing that. The results of their prompts, the results of them using, because I do want them to use AI. I do want them
Yep,
to use
yep,
agentic.
yep.
I want them to be smarter, more efficient, faster. I am all for this. But I also want to make sure that they're using it correctly. They're actually
Yeah.
feeding it the right data. And then I actually make them take the response and not copy it to me. I tell them, where did you think here they did right? What a strategy you think it should be taken away from here? I always tell them, don't copy it as is. I could do it myself. I don't need you. I could create a prompt right now and go on Gen any kind
Yep,
of
yep.
Gen AI and do this work. If you're doing it because I want your thinking, where is that thinking and strategic input in your deck? And they start make and I don't take this lightly because they are learning how to use the tool in their job as much as I am learning how to get them to use the tool on their job as a director.
Yep.
So there's so much learning to do together as a team, but I make sure that perhaps it's my to my blessing that I used to be an account director, an agency or a consultant, and I know the power of briefs and I know the power of asking and having correct data and assessments that get me to good results and recommendations. And I'm trying to be able to tell them this is a software tool. You need to control it. And the way you can control the output is by giving it the right input, right? And the more right input, that's how it's become smarter than us at some point because it has collected all that good input from us across the years, across the month. It will also learn how to be perhaps outsmarting us in an automated, autonomous way. And I think there's so much lessons learned uh, as a marketing team from leaders to doers or tactical. And I think we're all growing together in this journey in AI.
It's interesting you say that, and I just want to kind of close this up. But we were showcasing our agents to a number of analysts, the last few months, and the one thing that came over and over and over from all of them was how accurate are your predictions? Because you are telling the agent is telling the marketer this is what they should do, and they're using your algorithm. And so we took that to for example, really seriously. And I had two of our top executives in these meetings, and we are actually looking at what other tools are out there. And we found actually one very cool startup of mathematicians that now have a startup that are using very interesting math to validate whatever theory you have and to give you the causality of why are you having a churn in this user base. Is it the price? Is it the messaging? Is it the product? And by having this extra service that kind of validates things, your AI is going to be much better. And you have to, not everybody is a mathematician, not everybody is a data scientist, not everybody is a marketing genius, and there is a number of niche players out there now that are going to provide us extra tools to help us validate, is this AI accurate? Is this AI secure? Is this AI engagement in compliance? And I think that's a whole new niche industry that we're going to have to rely on because we don't know. And
Yeah.
so, but listen, I know our time has come to an end. We talked for way longer than I anticipated, but I also feel that we can be talking for another 2-3 hours. There's so many things to talk about.
Yes.
We maybe need to do another episode on this one and
Well,
continuation.
don't feel bad, Vasil, because if you would have gone to Cannes this year, which is a creativity festival for the
Yep,
advertising and marketing,
I love
the
Cannes
entire conference,
Festival, Leon.
the entire conference was about AI. You would be
Yep.
shocked that 80% of that conference was about AI and creativity, AI and this and AI. So you and I together and the entire marketing and tech world were consumed by this.
Yep. I mean, it's an interesting topic that is keeping us busy. That's why I have my job, my new job at Netcore. So I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation. This was actually very enjoyable, and I only had 3 coffees. Again, I'm gonna do some more, but. Dean, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us and being part of this. And I do hope that the listeners find this conversation insightful and learn something, or at least made you think about things that you're not just reading on the regular post and things out there. And best of luck with your AI endeavors, people, because it is a crazy world. It's moving fast, even for old guys like us. And I'm old. Sorry, it's my
No.
birthday. That's why I'm saying it's old. But anyway,
Yeah. No, I'm
anyway,
happy to
thank
be
you
here.
so
Thank you
much.
for your, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for your invitation. And you're right. I hope we were able to kind of showcase a little bit of a practical lens on how
Yeah,
we are going through it, whether from your side as a tech company or from my side as a marketer. And I think these kind of conversation between tech and marketers are necessary to kind
yeah,
of rub on each other and learn from each other. So I'm really
yeah.
grateful for this opportunity and thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.